A new research has found Australian dads still hold the breadwinner status and are working the same hours as they were before they became fathers. The study by the Australian Institute of Family Studies found just 5% of dads work part-time. That's compared with around 38% of mums. It also found mothers' work was affected dramatically by parenting and that it takes years for mums to scale their work hours back up. We're going to get some more on this. Dr. Jennifer Baxter joins me live. She's a senior research fellow at the Institute of Family Studies who did this report. Doctor, thanks for your time today. I guess this can be taken in a few ways. So how should we read this data? Should we be looking at it that businesses are not being flexible when it comes to roles which men and women play at home, or could we see it as families choosing to stick to the more traditional roles?
Yeah, hello, thanks for talking to me. I think it's a combination of things, and I think both of those points that you mentioned are both valid. I think we're not seeing much change at all in these figures for what happens to dad's time when they have a new baby, whereas we've been seeing for a long time. We know from employment statistics that it's mothers that do take the time off work. They leave work to have a period of leave and then often return to part-time work, and it takes a number of years to return back to full-time work. But the statistics show really clearly here that there's just no impact at all on what dad's doing in regard to their involvement in paid work.
Does the gender pay gap play a part in any of this? We know it can sometimes seem easier for women to reduce their days if they're earning less.
Yeah, I think, again, it comes back to, as you said before, there's a range of factors. I think that the pay gap could certainly be an issue for those couples that do sit down and have a conversation about how they might share the caring and who's to go back to work at different times. I do think, though, a lot of parents are not having those conversations. I think that there's still a lot of... Still, we're falling back onto those gendered stereotypes where it is dad who stays in the breadwinner role and mum who takes the break, has the leave and returning to part-time work. Part of that might be driven by what they know themselves about gender pay gap, if they're in such occupations such that the dad is earning significantly more than the mum.
Yeah.
And I guess to say also that we know that the averages that we see in the statistics do sort of wash away the differences across families, that there are certainly some families where those conversations will be had, and you certainly, when you talk about this research outside sort of looking at the statistics, you know that there are certainly families in which the mums and dads have had that conversation and they've worked it out for financial reasons and for other reasons. It's not just about the money, but it's also that families have a keen awareness that it's a valuable role to play, being a parent, and taking some time out or reducing back at work is a valuable thing for dads to do too, if that's possible for them to do that.
It's also seems to be a bit easier for women to take time off work, and they do get more benefits in a lot of companies than men do to take time off to have a child. So do you think if we were to equal out the entitlements that some women get that men could get, then maybe we would see a shift to more men taking time off to care for the children at home?
Look, I think, the more policies and practices that are available to men, certainly we're likely to see more uptake. I think it's going to be a sort of just a gradual build-up. The more those policies are available to men and they take it up such that we see men in our workplaces working flexible hours, working shorter hours, then that becomes just more normal. And I think at the moment it's still very much recognised that when a woman has a baby, that she's likely to then want to take some time off work. But we don't have that same expectation of men, and that can be quite challenging for men who do then want to broach the subject with their employer, if they're co-workers or if they're their family or their managers. If they're not used to seeing dads taking up those arrangements, then that can be a real barrier to dads, even if workplaces have those policies and practices in place, which a lot of them do.
And your study also looked at the time it takes for women to get their working hours back up, and that can take a significant amount of time to the hours that they were doing pre-baby, can't it?
Oh, very much so. I mean, some women won't ever return back to their full-time hours even. You know, most women will be working full-time before they have their first baby, but then really depending on sort of how many children you have, how spread apart those births are, that can take some time if women do elect to stay at home and be the primary carer during those years. And then most likely, you know, the most common scenario in those situations is to return to part-time work. And so by the time that the children are grown, women can be really at the other end of their career where they're starting to think about retirement. So a lot of women don't ever go back to those full-time hours.